Tonight we're at the Recovery Room, opened by Chris Boston DiMattia. The bar quickly became legendary, earning a global record for selling more 12-ounce cans of Pabst Blue Ribbon than any other bar on earth for 10 straight years. Today, the Recovery Room remains an essential late-night haven and a community hub for Charleston's local food and beverage industry. We're sitting down with Michael Clayton, a comic who spent more than a decade grinding it out in the Lowcountry before taking the national comedy scene by storm. Splitting his time between the Lowcountry and New York City, Michael has built a successful career and is the man behind the #1 comedy album, Garbage Chic. He shared the stage with everyone from Bobcat Goldthwait to Mick Foley. And tonight we're getting to know the man behind the laughs. Get ready for the comedy of Michael Clayton. Here's your host, Cassie Burns.
Michael Clayton, thank you so much, my guy. All right, we're going to do a little cheers. You have a fireball. I have my tequila that I'm hoping I don't splash all over the fucking table again.
That hit the spot.
No lime to wash it down. Thank you so much for doing this podcast.
Thank you for having me on. I love that you're doing this, and I love that you're kind of giving a little bit more view to Charleston comedy here. I think that's great.
I just feel like there was just a hole.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm very happy that it has a place of prominence in Charleston, but it is funny. Like, the first thing you always have to do whenever you're talking about comedy in Charleston is confirm the existence of comedy in Charleston. And then from there, people are like, oh, now that I know it's there, okay, I might check it out. And thankfully, there's been more momentum with that, too.
And how long have you been doing comedy in Charleston?
So I started comedy in Charleston like 15 years ago. And then I moved to New York for about a decade. I'm back here for a little while. We're eventually going to move back after my wife and I got married recently. Mm-hmm. We're going to eventually go back.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But it's been wonderful to have this like extended time here and to really kind of be part of the scene during, I think, what's a very pivotal moment with Wits End opening up and with just so much new talent and so many really good comics on the scene. It feels nice to have not the main portion, but a sliver of that portion of like the success for that.
What is the difference between Charleston comedy versus New York? And I know the venues is a huge thing and the history of, comedy in New York City, but what was your experience as far as that goes?
So I'll start with actually something they have in common and then go where it differs.
Okay.
One thing they have in common is the ratio of good comics to bad comics is the same. There's just a lot more people. Mm-hmm. Now where New York starts to differ, it's far more competitive. There's actual like media that you can have opportunities with. There's clubs that are very prominent that like you've heard of that people are vying for spots for. And when you first move there, you quickly realize even if you came from like a small, if you were prominent in a small scene, you're one of like thousands of comics. So you really have to polish your set. You really have to have a little bit better timing. You have to have a little bit more confidence to kind of navigate that scene at first because there's so many people vying for the same spots kind of thing.
So with you being in New York, you ever try out for Saturday Night Live?
Never tried out. So I did have a couple of friends that I knew that rode on it.
Oh, wow.
And it's very hard to get a ticket to SNL even if you live there. Like they're very, very competitive. And one of my friends that was riding there, a little background, I'm a huge pro wrestling fan.
Nice.
So I was coming home to Charleston, which is where I'm originally from. I was boarding a flight and he goes, if you can get to 30 Rock right now, I can get you an SNL tonight. And I'm like, I can't. I got to fly home. And then I'm like, can you tell me who the guest was? And then he goes, it's John Cena. And I'm like, oh, you're shitting me. So that was my one attempt. I've seen the stage like on 30 Rock tours and things like that. And I have friends that are working like in media in the building, but I have not been able to go to a taping there. And I was able to go to a taping of like Daily Show, John Oliver, pretty much everything else.
But not SNL.
That's the hot ticket. I mean,
so is it a lottery base?
It's lottery based, but it goes very quickly. And I mean, they have it out pretty far. So like, you have a moment to grab for it, but there's, theoretically millions of other people that grab for it. I mean, there's plenty of people who build entire trips over getting that ticket. Similar to like Hamilton, tickets.
Did you do any theater while you were there? Did you see anything then?
Oh yeah, I saw a lot. I saw Hamilton for the first time right when they were starting to open up after COVID.
Oh, that's amazing. Little Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah, well, you could do the lottery there and you had a better chance because a lot of people were still, being a little more cautious. And I ended up like second or third week getting the lottery for that. there was a period of time where I had a friend that lived there who worked at a ticketing office. And at the end of the day, if there was a leftover ticket, we could go to the show that night. And I saw like every Broadway play, like that 2018 to 2019, like pretty much everything that came along, because she just had free tickets to go.
That's so cool. Jesus.
And then like after she left that job, like, you know, I saw the Harry Potter play, I saw the Stranger Things play, I saw a lot of the musicals that have, you know, several of the ones that won Tonys, and then several ones that just had their time and then they kind of moved on.
What was your favorite one that you saw?
My favorite one that I saw, so this didn't last long. They did a play of Groundhog Day.
No way.
And it only lasted one season, but the way they staged a lot of it was really interesting. And I thought it was just really effective as a musical.
That's really cool.
And I even think, like, you know, the Andie MacDowell character in the movie?
Yeah.
They kind of gave her character more depth in the play.
Oh, that's good, because that was a little bit of a weak one.
Yeah, she kind of played like the plum girlfriend role.
Yeah.
And they certainly kind of added a lot more layers to her in the musical.
So I know you're a movie buff. Did you watch any of the films that were, like, anything that was being filmed around you? Because I mean, that's a huge, obviously, big filming area.
Where most of the comedy happened, which was like in the Village area. Mm-hmm. I mean, any week you could see Law and Order being filmed there. I saw the Newsroom, like the first week I was being there.
Neat, yeah.
Yeah.
I loved that one.
You know, I remember Dev Patel, he was just sitting on a bench during like one of the scenes and talking. Yeah. I didn't know what it was for at the time, but then later when I watched the Newsroom, I'm like, okay, that's what it was. I saw, this is before I even moved there. When I went on my senior trip to New York, when I was in high school, I saw 13 Going on 30 being filmed and Sandra Bullock walking around. But I saw that, and then several of the Marvel projects, like all the Marvel TV shows were kind of filmed around New York.
Yeah.
So you'd see a lot of, like, you know, Kristen Ritter, you'd see that kind of thing a lot of times.
Yeah, I know the main one's Atlanta.
Atlanta's become a real big hub, I think primarily because HBO started doing a lot of stuff there. Mm-hmm. And then I think what happened is zoning and all that kind of other stuff, all the red tape you have to do to film has gotten very expensive in New York and LA. And I think Atlanta, because it was kind of untapped at the time, kind of became like a very ideal spot for that.
And we had it here for a little bit too, but I've seen it die down.
Yeah, we had Mr. Mercedes here. Mm-hmm. We had Revenge. We had a couple of different programs that were kind of Charleston-based. One of the Halloween films, the first David Gordon Green one.
I believe Danny McBride wrote that one.
Yeah, he co-wrote it. And so those were like the most prominent projects I saw in Charleston. And a lot of the Southeast filming is for tax rebates. Mm-hmm. Like they start tax incentive programs to encourage people to come here. And I think there's still some stuff brewing, but I don't know what like the current productions are that are trying to seek Charleston.
Oh God, I'd love for them to start back up. So being in New York, because I love New York. My husband actually went a few years back, and he'd never been.
Oh wow!
And I said, you're either going to call me and say I'm fucking miserable, or you're going to call me and say, pack the baby, we're moving right now.
Yeah.
So I get the call on a Sunday. Pack the baby, we're moving right now. I'm like, well, obviously we can't do that as much as I would love to, but he fell in love with it. I fell in love with it. I had so much fun there. I'd love to go back again at some point, but I know I had crazy encounters with people there, just, you know, or street, subway. What's your craziest one that you had?
Oh, so when you first moved there was actually a joke where they're like, hey, have you seen your homeless man jerking off on the subway yet? Because that's actually...
Oh, I missed that one.
That's not uncommon. That if you're in New York long enough, you will see a homeless person. If it's late at night and you're like the only one on the car, you'll see them going to town. So the first week I was there, didn't see anything for like the first 5 days. Then I'm going home like at 2 a.m. on a subway. This homeless guy comes on and he has a hamster cage and he jerks off. And then immediately after he finishes, he like...
I'm so scared.
Opens a bag to feed the hamster, and I'm like, well, it's nice to see he's a responsible pet owner at least. Like,
he's a member of PETA. He's fine.
Yeah, but that was pretty surreal. That also changes some of your perception, like, on how people interact with the homeless community, because it's a tough situation for somebody to be unhoused, you know, in this country. It's really tough. And there would be people that would get angry if you went to like the Port Authority bus terminal, because if you went at night, there were homeless men like jerking off into the trash cans there.
It is just a horny city.
And I would go like, well, I mean, that's helping with the cleanup pretty easily. I mean, if I actually don't have an issue with that, because I mean, at least it's kind of being considerate to the people around you.
Oh my God, I do. I miss New York so much. And then you came back here. Where was the first place you played when you came back?
Wits, probably. Wits was starting to open up, and I came back to visit a lot.
Yeah.
A good bit. So I was booked pretty much each time I came home, whether it be at Wits, whether it be at Tin Roof, whether it be at Purple Buffalo. But yeah, when I knew I was going to come down here for a little bit, and we decided we were going to get married, so we were going to stay down here for a little bit. Wits had started up maybe a couple of months before.
Okay.
And I already knew Josh just from having done comedy in the past. I knew most of the regulars there because I had come up in comedy with them. And so it was a pretty ideal fit. That, and also if Josh put me on stuff, I had a good set. So that's a big part of it. So I was able to develop a rapport there. And then from there, it was just Charleston was at a really crucial point where it was starting to expand to other rooms, other venues, and kind of have a really good comedy community.
When did you think it started to die down around here?
I think it took a little bit of a hit in COVID.
Yeah,
clearly.
like everything.
Because Sparrow was pretty prominent prior to COVID. And then, it started to open back up, and Sparrow really was a hub for a while. But there's been ebbs and flows the entire time I've known of the Charleston comedy scene. There's been times where there's been a lot of action, and there's been times where it's still been active, but the shows were like a little bit more sporadic. Now you have multiple shows each month from multiple producers. You have a club that's kind of a centerpiece of it, but you have all these other rooms too that are helping to showcase talent, and which I think is the preferable situation. Because club's always going to offer really good comedy, really good comics, all that kind of stuff. But bar shows and things like that can too, and they can offer a different tone and a different atmosphere as well.
Yeah.
So I think having them kind of hand in hand is healthy.
What is your process when you start? By the way, you have a comedy album.
Yeah, I do.
Let's plug that.
Garbage Chic. It came out on April 1st.
It is amazingly funny.
Thank you so much. I was very fortunate that it went to number 1 on the iTunes comedy charts that day, which that entire day it debuted at number 2. And then I was kind of like, you know what? If it just goes to number 2, that's cool. That's still awesome.
Yeah.
And then I was actually at a show at Wits. And my friend Liv Smith, who's a hilarious comic, she pushed people out of the way to get on the mic, and she's like, "Hey, I just wanted to say Michael's album went to number 1," and that was like a really
cool.
It was so cool of her. It was so sweet, and it was just to be able to have that kind of moment at the club was really good. Also, because I recorded it at the club, so there was like a full circle kind of feel of that.
That is so neat.
But yeah,
how long does it take you to write that though?
To do an album, I mean, you could argue all the comedy I did leading up to that was kind of leading up to eventually doing an album. But once I decided I was going to record, it was about a little over a year where I had 45 minutes to an hour. I really wanted to workshop because I wanted my first album to be about 45 to 46 minutes, like a standard headlining set. And it evolved very drastically as time went on. But the core of how I wanted it to flow and how I wanted to go was kind of consistent through that year. And I would get on stage. I was able to run it here, run it in Savannah, run in Columbia. I traveled a little bit to run that time. And by the time I recorded the album, I'm very proud of the album, but I was also tired of doing the material because I had been trying to really, really sharpen it leading up to that.
Do you go to different places that you know you're not going to know anybody to sharpen that?
Yes. And, people ask sometimes like, hey, is your wife coming out? My wife does come to, she'll come to a show about like once every other month kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, why doesn't she come to every show? And I'm like, because I need people in the audience who don't automatically like me. You have to win them over with your material. And if I share a bed with her, she's going to have a bias. And yeah, I mean, I think it's healthy. I think you want rooms that are supportive, but then you also want rooms that are going to give you some resistance. I think if you do too much of one is going to make you too delusional about how the material is going to do in any room, and then one's going to make you too jaded. And so you have to find like that good balance.
What's the worst balance room you've ever been in?
So there's bad rooms I've been in, and then there's rooms that went bad because of my choices. So,
let's start with one.
Bad rooms. A lot of times, if you go before an audience where comedy is very much an afterthought, it is your job as a comic to get their attention, but sometimes that task is harder than others in certain room setups. If the bar is not working with you, like I've done shows where like there were screens on both sides of the stage, and then they would screen like the Big Bang Theory while you're trying to do a show. And like I go like, hey, do you think it would be a good idea to cut that off? And they're like, why? And I'm like,
you're fine.
Yeah, I don't know. So those kind of things, and then just like support from the venue. Low ceilings is a big thing for like a good comedy room. Those things can kind of help, and like, which is also why certain rooms that look good can be kind of rough. Like a brewery has like really high ceilings, so everybody in the audience could be laughing, but based on the acoustics, you'll feel like you're bombing, and you can't go by the sound. You have to kind of just go by like how you're feeling in the moment. So those rooms can be tough because you can't really get the juice of the audience from it. You kind of have to almost do it like a monologue. But you have to instinctively know by looking at the audience whether it's working or not. So anything where like those things that kind of help you click up as a performer aren't available to you, those are harder rooms.
I can't imagine. I have the utmost respect for comedians. I could never do it. I would never do it. It's I think it's just more like, I kind of want people to like me. They're not all gonna like me. I get that, but I couldn't handle a heckler, and I know every comedy or comedian's gotten them. So
you absolutely get them.
As long as they're not your family that's doing it, that's
no. Although I have had families that have been disruptive at a show, and I had to go like, "Hey, dog!" Like, not many, thankfully. Most of my family that's come has been nothing but supportive. But I remember I had a friend of mine. It was a girl I dated briefly, but she brought a boyfriend at one point, or new boyfriend. We were cool. And I was like, and he really, really liked me. And he's like, man, I came here just for you. And I'm like, thanks, man. So I'm fourth on the lineup, and he starts booing the three comics before me. No. And so like the second one in, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I just wanted to help you. And I'm like, that's not how it works. Like, I want to do well. And would I like to have the best set on the show? Of course, we're all competitive. But the best show is where we're all killing, but I killed the best. That's what you hope for. If everybody else bombed and I did well, that feels good for my ego, but nobody's ever going to go back to that show.
Did you grow up competitive?
No, I didn't grow. I mean, I was in sports a little bit, so there was a little bit of that was fostered. I am not competitive. I had a friend one time say, you're one of the most motivated, non-ambitious people I've ever met. And that I'm very motivated to do well at comedy. I'm very motivated to work hard, but I didn't grow up going, I got to be at the Cellar. I just had this attitude of like, I really enjoy doing this. I've done it enough. I think I have a skill for it. So I just want to keep perpetuating opportunities to do it. And I had goals, short-term goals, but I didn't have any of these like really ambitious, I need to get to Saturday Night Live, I needed to get this. I just had a basic love for comedy and wanted to continue doing it. And whatever came from that really was secondary.
What started your love of comedy?
My father, who passed away in April, but
I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, and he was really, really instrumental in like my sense of humor. He was the funniest human being that I had ever met in my life. Just really funny and really like could fill a room pretty easily with just being a really funny guy. And I remember coming home when I was like 6 or 7, and my dad is like crying laughing. And to me, if somebody's making my dad laugh, and he was like the funniest guy in the world, who has this kind of magic power? Yeah. And it was George Carlin. And so, so I became just obsessed with George Carlin. And people ask, is that when you knew you wanted to be a comedy? And I said, no, because I thought there was one job for stand-up comic, and Carlin had it. So you were just shit out of luck. So I grew up obsessed with it, and like I started learning about him. I started learning about like Ellen DeGeneres, Brian Regan, Sam Kinison. I mean, just really ran the gamut, and then went back to like older comics like Joan Rivers, Jackie Green, and all that, and really just became enamored with the history. And then at a certain point, I started reading about like open mics, and it was like, oh, there is a barrier of entry if you want to try this. And then it kind of just grew from there.
Has your comedy evolved since you started?
Oh, God, yes. And thank God it did.
Well, I mean, we all evolve and grow, but what did you start out doing versus...
So I think first of all, I would not classify myself as like politically correct necessarily, but I think a lot of male comics want to go to where the juice is before they know how to construct a good joke, where they want to say the most offensive thing, which doesn't bother me. I'm not offended by offensive jokes, but they do that before they realize it's really hard to pull off an offensive joke. It's almost like, okay, I've never ridden a bike. I think I'm going to jump on a unicycle first. And so I was trying to do very, very affronting, offensive humor. I was a nice guy, but I didn't have the skill to really land it. And then I started learning more how to do fundamentals of comedy, and then grew from there. And then plenty of my material was blue, was edgy, was all that. But I had actually kind of like learned the fundamentals to build a solid joke around it. And then as that evolved, I just started becoming more kind of a personal comic. And that's kind of what I evolved into now, where it's definitely a lot about my life. It's observations and other things. And there's other things sprinkled in, like I'll talk about politics. But even when I talk about politics, it's usually about my relation to politics and the phenomenon of it more than you should vote for this or that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's more interesting than like me telling you exactly this is how you should feel on this topic. That's up for the audience, you know.
Yeah, you had an amazing bit. I'm not going to give it away. Go to YouTube, Spotify, check out Garbage Chic. But you did have an amazing bit where your father was like birds and bees and politics.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's all boner killers, but cool.
Yeah, and I love that bit because, I mean, first of all, it was true. But second of all...
You went from like red face to, what the fuck?
Second of all, I've done that in rooms that are left and right, and I've never... Here's the thing. I've been in like, I'm more, very liberal, but I've been in very conservative rooms and killed because I don't go in there and try to condescend to people.
Right.
I have my opinions and I'll stand by them and I won't pretend to not have those opinions. But my goal is to make you laugh. And my goal is if you have a different perspective on something, that's gravy, but that's really icing on the cake. The core of it has to be, I promised you I would make you laugh and I'm going to do my job. And I like being able to talk about those topics, but talk about them more as a phenomenon or like the, aspects of it that are interesting more than a defined dogma a lot of times.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at different comedians as well, and you see that they're doing like the more raunch humor instead of building up to that, is it you're just kind of sitting back going, I wish I could help you, but...
Yeah, well, that's a lesson you have to kind of like learn on your own. And it's nothing against, I think Jeselnik is a genius. And I love his material. And I have plenty of dark material too. It's never a situation of... Most comics that have any kind of criticisms about like edgier humor, it's not criticism about a joke being edgy. It's a criticism where sometimes when a joke is edgy and it's not working, the comic will default to, oh, well, they're just sensitive. And it's like, well, they might be, or it might just be they didn't find that particular joke funny.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't enough craft put in. Most of the time when I see audiences get uptight about a joke, I think it's more because they felt the comic didn't put the work in. To,
it was
like,
just
get
a cheap
them there.
humor.
Yeah, like one of the things I like about Jeselnik is you never hear about him being canceled because his joke structure is kind of unimpeachable. Like they're really well crafted jokes and they hit hard. And even if you don't feel comfortable with the punchline, it's really hard to deny the craftsmanship there. And so like that structure and being able to build a joke that's just going to hit no matter how you feel about it, I think is important.
Yeah.
And I think I think some comics will go that route before they've kind of got their sea legs under them. And you can't teach anybody that. They have to kind of figure that out on their own.
Well, just like you did, just like every comic does. They've got to, like you said, get the sea legs.
Yeah, and like...
Learn your rhythm, learn your craft, learn...
And you also learn, like, the things that audiences find most, like, penetrating in terms of something going like, wow, I didn't expect that, is, like... really personal things about yourself. Like at this point, every single joke that's ever been done about like Jesus or like, trans people or whatever taboo topic it is, those jokes have all been done at this point. But if you go somewhere really personal, that's like maybe very dark, but very true to who you are, like that penetrates way more than like your just standard kind of like edgy type of joke, and it can be edgy as hell. I mean, there's stuff on my album that's certainly not, PG-13. And that's not the point. The point is I wanted to kind of delve into something that really did make you feel like you got a piece of the comic when you left.
So we talked about canceling. Do you feel like cancel culture is starting to... Now, some of it was a little warranted, and I feel like some of it wasn't.
I think cancel culture is on a decline, but I also think cancel culture was not healthy to the public discourse of comedy, but I also think in some ways the response to cancel culture could be just as censorious. Mm-hmm. I think comics should be able to talk about whatever they want. There might be topics that I think the same angle keeps being done, and I'm kind of bored of that, but I also don't prevent a comic from talking that way. At the same time, when I see something like, for example, the Dylan Mulvaney, the trans woman.
Yeah, with the Budweiser.
She was put on one beer can, and then they did everything in their power to shut down Budweiser, shut down her social media. I'm like, that's just as censorious in the other direction. Mm-hmm. If it's really about everybody having free expression, you got to kind of commit to that premise, whether you agree with the ideology or not. And
you can't just pick and choose which one
No, and
if you're at this idea, let's just stick with this idea.
And I would never tell a comic what material to do or not do. I mean, I would give my advice, but that's not my choice.
Do you counsel a lot of newer comics?
Counsel?
Counsel or advise?
I've tried to talk.
Baby?
Yeah. I've jokingly been. I've been referred to by a group of newer comics as a comedy dad sometimes, which is both very nice, but also kind of a dagger to the heart a little bit.
I'm a dad.
But I don't. I prefer to give counsel to people that want counsel, because some people just want to find their own way no matter what.
No, I get that.
And I think you got to respect that.
Did you have anybody that helped you coming up?
Yes. My friend Derek Humphrey was very much, I was very fortunate that he basically said, I made a couple of mistakes in comedy. Don't do this, especially when I moved to New York. And then hopefully whoever comes after you will make less mistakes, and hopefully we'll weed out a lot of them.
What was the best piece of advice he gave you?
One of the best pieces of advice he gave me, there's a couple of pieces. He talked very much, your goal on stage every single time should be try to kill every single time. Mm-hmm. Try to really get in there and have an undeniably great set, because more than anything with booking, if it's just undeniable you have a skill at this, your bookability is going to change. And then also, one of the things I think he really emphasized, when I first moved to New York, I had some material that was, my set was really R-rated. And he said, if you ever get asked to do a clean show, you can be clean and still be you. It's possible.
Yeah.
And he said, the way you should pick bookings isn't about what the material is. It's, can I still be me and do this type of material? And I've turned down shows because I felt like I just can't fit. I can't be me in that room.
What makes you determine that?
I had a show I was offered one time by the Shriners.
Okay.
Where they were very nice and they were offering me very good money, but they said, "Hey, can you do some jokes about gun grabbers?" And I was like, I don't know what that is. And he's like, well, people that want gun control. And I'm like, well, I'm kind of for gun control. I'm not militant about it, but I am. And so I'm like, I realized they were kind of looking at me as a jukebox.
Yeah.
And I said, I think you're looking for a very particular type of comic, and you have a right to book that comic. I am not that comic. And there's times you just have to realize certain audiences want a certain type of performer, and sometimes you can fit that mold, and sometimes they're looking for something specific, and it ain't you, and there's no crime in that.
No, and especially with this day and age, as far as social media goes and all that, you could do this show, that's not your stance, but then somebody puts it on YouTube and you're like, well, I didn't really mean that and I didn't say that, but I mean, that could actually follow you. That's the way it is this day.
Well, and I also believe, to me, the most important thing in any comedy show is the audience. You're there to service the audience and to make sure they have a great time. You have freedom of speech, but the trade-off is you get to have freedom of speech because you're able to make me laugh. If you aren't able to achieve that, well, you still are able to speak freely, you just might not get booked here as much. So you have to have that freedom of speech, but also utilize it in a way that's working for the audience. And I think anytime you're focused on the audience, you should always make sure that you're taking care of them. And if you don't feel you have the ability to take care of that particular audience, then you need to question whether it was the right show for you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, I mean, there's plenty of rooms that didn't have like 1A, 1B perspective on life that I did, that I've had wonderful experiences and they've been amazing crowds. It's very rare that I find a room where I'm just like, I just don't think I'm the right person for you. What'd you say?
Like, why did I do this? Oh, shit.
I've been in those too. Like, but yeah, I think like in any situation, you have to be very realistic about what your goal is as a comic. And that is, I want the audience leaving thinking like, man, that was a really great way to spend an evening. And there's some rooms where maybe you aren't going to be the desired form of entertainment. And that was something that changed when I bombed too. Because when you're young in comedy and you bomb, the knee-jerk reaction is to go like, man, fuck that audience, blah, 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 blah. But as you mature more, your attitude is, man, I wanted to be the guy to make you have like an awesome night and make you laugh really hard. It didn't work out tonight. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I don't dwell on it, but I do think taking ownership of that and trying to figure out how you can approach that next time is imperative.
Do you think like certain days a week also are imperative with comedy? Like if you're going to do a Tuesday show, it's like crickets, or Friday versus like Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
It's not set in stone, but that can have an impact. Obviously, if people know they're not going to have to go into work the next day and it's on a Friday night, they're probably having a couple drinks. Yeah. That does help. I mean, most comics, if you're told, hey, you're booked on a weekend show, that's better than being booked on a like Tuesday or Wednesday. Yeah. But at the same time, I mean, I've done plenty of shows Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, where I was like, oh, we'll see how this goes. And then the crowds were amazing. Sometimes it's also just the climate of what's going on outside too. Like
as far as the news and...
Yeah, if something really awful happened that day, that room might be weird. Yeah. Now, sometimes it can also be really funny, and it can be, you can have some moments of levity in that, but there's sometimes what's happening outside can change the climate of an audience. You still got to try your best to fight against that, but it's an uphill climb.
I love the process of comedians and like your learning process, your writing process, how you got started, and the mistakes you've made that make you into who you are now. And there's always room for growth as well.
I think the moment that you think you have it all figured out in comedy, you should quit comedy. Yeah. Because that's just not a realistic way. I've done this for such a huge part of my life, and the revelations I've had 15 years in, where I was like, man, I should have done this 12 years ago. Yeah. And I'm glad I do them now. But like, it's always going to be a sense of discovery. And also, demographics for crowds change. Mm-hmm. The stuff that's popular in pop culture now is not the same stuff that was popular in pop culture when I started. And that's a thing. And like, you have to have some cognizance of that. And I also think like, you should always feel like a work in progress in comedy too. Mm-hmm. Like I've said before, because I try to do a personal style of comedy, a lot of my comedy is, here's me trying to be a good person. Here's where it went wrong. Yeah. And that could be where I really did something that could have been better, or it could have been that I just made an honest mistake, but it was, certainly created a lot of problems. And I think people relate to that more. Have
you ever bombed so bad that you walked off the stage and just like, fuck it?
I've never bombed where I've wanted to quit, which that sounds... There's a good and bad side of that. Yeah. I've never wanted to quit because I really do love this. Mm-hmm. I love doing stand-up. I love being around other people that adore stand-up. Mm-hmm. The community almost means as much to me as my own ability to get on stage. It really does. So I've never had a desire to quit, but also there's this part of me where I've done it for so long and it's been such a huge part of my life. If I were to sit down and contemplate how do I go about quitting... Because, like, so much of my friend group is from that. Yeah. I met my wife through comedy. Like, it's such a core part of my life that I would kind of really... I'd be at a loss to even how to approach that. Thankfully, it's not something I'm seeking, so I don't have to worry about it. But there have been times where it's like, man, if I wanted an exit strategy, I don't know that I really have one at this point because I just have such an adoration for this art form.
Well, you said you met your wife through comedy. How'd you meet her?
So we met a little earlier on. I had a friend of mine who was going to Upper Deck, rest in peace.
Yeah.
And he was going to talk to a girl, and he brought me basically to talk to her friend while he was trying to talk to a girl. And her friend was very nice, still a friend that I really like to this day. But we didn't click romantically.
Yeah.
It was just so we ended up going a second time, and this time when we went to karaoke, 2 or 3 other friends showed up, and my wife was one of them. And I instantly was into her. She liked me as a person, didn't know if she wanted to date me. And then that continued on for about 3 years. And then the day I was having my going away show to New York was the first time she later told me she thought, well, he's kind of cute. So then I moved to New York. And then we're texting back and forth. We're calling a lot. I dated somebody else. She dated somebody else. And then we both kind of ended up single. And then there was a conversation where she's like, well, when you come home, do you want to be friends with benefits? And I'd be like, sure. And the deal,
turn that down.
The deal is, if you're friends with benefits, you can both see other people, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. She saw somebody else while I was home in New York, and it felt weird, but I was fine. And then I saw somebody in New York, and she realized she was far less comfortable with this arrangement. And then that relationship just ran its course. Very nice person, but we were just incompatible as a couple.
Yeah.
And we both found each other single. And I think as soon as I got single, she was already single at the time. We kind of knew within 2 or 3 months we're going to finally be together, because it was just the writing was on the wall. We kind of realized each other was the person we were looking for. Mm-hmm. And it just all fell into place. So, around Halloween of, 2019, we started dating. And then during COVID, I quarantined with her for a little bit. So we had that living together.
Oh, that's going to make or break.
Yeah. And I am so thankful that all of our experiences with that, 98% of them were just positive. We had a little bit of calibration of hey, I don't want to go to bed with just clothes all over the place and that kind of thing. We had those kind of conversations where you're just kind of calibrating with coexisting together. Mm-hmm. But we also were really good at conflict resolution. We weren't at each other's...
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, we both always approached any kind of conflict as well, I like this person, so we don't have to be a dick about it. We could just talk about it.
Yeah.
And reach a, confident, solution. And I think that was invaluable. And, once we quarantined together, we were already dating, but I'm yeah, this is definitely end game here. We just had a lot of compatibility.
I love a good love story.
I do too. And it's funny because there's a lot of parts of it that were frustrating, but I like that it was a more circuitous story.
That's everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's probably wanted to sometimes.
Oh, we've definitely had, I don't think we've ever had I'm going to kill that person, but we definitely
been what are you doing?
We definitely like to roast each other. We definitely like reasons to kind of give each other shit.
That I love, because it was actually how we kind of fell in love. We went to I just met him, and we went to a grocery store with his friend Ben, and I cannot remember what we were doing, but we just roasted him the entire way of Mr. K's Piggly Wiggly in Somerville. And he just turned around and he goes, man, fuck you guys. I'm you're going to make it.
Yeah, and my best friend adores her. And anytime she's kind of roasting me, they might both get on that train, and then it might turn around. We can both kind of roast her. So she's a very good sport about it. But she also knows, I have a lot of respect for her, for who she is too. Mm-hmm. So weirdly enough, the more respect you have for somebody, the more vicious you can kind of be in how you pick on each other, because you kind of know where the lines are. And you also know what the intent is. The intent isn't to hurt each other. It's just you just have a darker sense of humor.
Yeah. Darker sense of humor is actually really do. I couldn't be with somebody without that. Just let's have fun with this journey that we're doing in life.
No, and so many of my friends, it's the same thing. I have a close friend, Mona Bender. Mm-hmm. She's a great comic. She lost her father a few years before I did. Mm. And I remember she messaged me and she's like, listen, I know it's still pretty fresh. Can I send you something that's funny? Are you okay for me to send it right now? because, you go through a lot of different feelings. And I'm
Yeah,
like, yeah, I'm cool for a joke. So it's an article saying 50% off Father's Day sale. And she's like, you know how you can get 100% off Father's Day sale? And I'll be honest, it was during a time where I was kind of having a struggle with that loss.
Yeah.
And honestly, it made me feel better than just about any other words of affirmation that could be had, because it just kind of brought some levity to a really heavy situation. And I was cracking jokes. I mean, I was at the club 3 days after my dad passed.
Well, it's therapeutic also to just kind of get out of your head space a little bit too and into something that's a little different.
It is therapeutic. Now, the one warning I would have to that, there are comics that'll be like, comedy is my therapy, and I'll be like, that's awesome. Go to fucking therapy. It can be therapeutic, but that should not be the avenue in which you're addressing serious mental, mental troubles, which we all have. I talked to a therapist. It's been very beneficial. And I've definitely had sets that have been therapeutic to speak on. But I still think you should talk to somebody with letters in front of their name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My sister is actually a therapist as well. I love her to death. I'm like, let's word this correctly. I love her to death. Like, she's amazing. She's won awards and everything. But I'm like, I've seen you fight.
Oh, my mom's a retired school counselor, and I love that she had that job. She helped a lot of kids with like a lot of mental health struggles. I mean, what she did was incredible. It sucked having her as a mom in arguments. She was an amazing mom. But when your mom is a school counselor, they'll be like, you're deflecting right now. And I'll be like, nobody fucking says that. So there would just be these clinical terms that would come up, and I'd be like, just talk to me like a person. And my mom is an amazing person too. It's just they'd become so comfortable with that. I dated a lawyer at one point too, and it was similar.
Oh, hell.
Lawyers, one of the techniques they have is they'll speak really quickly, because that can like trip somebody up in the courtroom. And I had a girl that I was dating, and I'm like, hey, I'm your boyfriend. We're not in the courtroom right now. Can we? And I'm like, is it more important that we have a healthy relationship or that you win the case? And then she goes, win? And I'm like, okay, we got another problem.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
We're going to go.
And we worked it out, but yeah, I think there's certain professions that if you're having a disagreement with that person, them having that extra superpower is not fun.
No. Have you ever worked F&B or anything like that?
Never worked F&B. My first couple of jobs growing up were like, I worked at Books A Million, and I worked at the grocery store when I was younger, like Piggly Wiggly. That was my first job.
Were you taught not to judge with my bike? Because I'm praying to God people don't judge. You're like, oh, you're getting that today, huh? Karma Sutra book. How's that life going?
Yeah, I mean, working in a bookstore, there was... So I clearly won't say anybody's name. The best ones were books that you had to special order. There was one book called A Hand in the Bush, The Art of Vaginal Fisting. And the cover was just somebody putting on a black glove. We had 3 different people order that book. And I had to call them and tell them the phone, the book was in. And their voice on the phone was pretty much exactly what you think their voice would be on the phone. They'd be like, is my book in? And I'd be like, yes, sir, it is. It's like,
my precious.
And it's like, it's still wrapped, isn't it? And I'm like, yes, sir, nobody else has read it.
We don't want to. Please get this out of our store now.
You'd have that stuff. You'd have some people that would just get... there was a guy that lived in Edisto who was very wealthy, and he would just get runs of authors. He would just get every Stephen King book that had ever published, and like had this massive book collection. And he would just go to different authors, and he was awesome because he just had...
Do you think he read them?
I think he read a lot of it, but he was also just kind of a pop culture Cuisinart to a little bit, because he also went to FYE and he'd buy stacks of CDs, and it was like current stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty cool when you're talking to like a guy in his late 70s and he's like into the White Stripes. That was like a lot of fun. So you'd have kind of eccentrics like that. You'd have some people that were just interesting characters. Certain book signings would bring out certain people. Like, I remember Glenn Beck did a book signing at our bookstore, and I was not a fan of Glenn Beck. And then I met him, and he was perfectly fine, like, one-on-one.
Yeah.
Like, he was a pretty down-to-earth guy, as a lot of people are off stage. But his fans were Definitely interesting. They were very spirited. They were mostly nice, but they were very spirited.
I would have given anything just to sit back with a coffee going, okay.
Yeah, and
Just watching you. That is people watching times 1,000. I would fucking love.
So you'd have a lot of that. Some of the stuff that people would find to be more taboo, like, you know, there were guys that came in and got like porn, but you know, once you've seen 6 guys get porn, it's not anything that phases you. Also, if you're a male, you're probably like, well, I would look at that too. It's not like I am a red-blooded male. So there really was never any judgment about that, like, or, you know, any other interest really. I think most people that work at a bookstore are kind of like, hey, you know, we all read things. We all read something where when we go through the checkout, we'd be like, oh man, I don't know if it would be weird if somebody else saw this, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I just find it interesting.
Why do you think Amazon's doing so fucking well? Because they're like,
oh yeah,
the shame is gone.
Yeah, and you would certainly see people come in. This reminds me, when I was in New York, one of the jobs I had was I was a bike courier. And one of the most consistent customers that we had were like supermodels who wanted to order Taco Bell or McDonald's but didn't want anybody else to know. So we would be taking this bag up to like this thing, and you'd see like this gorgeous like Brazilian woman like in a nightgown, and she would just like snatch the bag, close the door, and be like, thank you. And then she would like tip you pretty well.
Yeah.
But like we had so much of that. Like where you're like, oh, I'm just helping people have their vices in private. Like,
I love my mom so much. And speaking of bookstores, and this was a very long time ago, but it was when Playgirl was still around.
yeah.
And there was this, I believe this was before Leonardo DiCaprio did Romeo and Juliet, or it might have been around the same time. In fact, it was around the same time. And there were like these fuzzy nude photos that came out in Playgirl.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm curious. But I'm, again, probably like 16 years old. You couldn't buy them till like you were 18. Yeah. And my mom's like, oh, fuck it, I'll go buy it. And I'm standing behind her like, we're going to be arrested. And she's like, I want to play a girl, Aaliyah, naked. And I went, kid wants it. I was like, she's buying it. And I'm like, oh God. Is anybody going to see me? And then that chick was like, oh Christ, this isn't, it's blurry. What the fuck?
So we did a sketch at Rip City one year. This is like almost a decade ago when Rip City was first starting out. Mm-hmm. But we did a sketch, and the idea was, this was around the time that like Tinder was really starting to pop up. And I had all these female friends that were saying, I'm getting all these unsolicited dick pics.
I've heard about you.
Yeah.
Thank God I was not single in that shit.
And I'd be like, what are you getting, 1 or 2? And then one of my friends is like, no, I have an entire folder. I just saved them all. And it was like 43 unsolicited dick pics. So we decided to do this sketch called Dick Bouquet, where we argued that the problem with dick pics is they're so cold and unpersonal. So let's have a bouquet of flowers of little dick pics kind of arranged in there. And our idea was, let's get actual dick pics from our female friends. Can't show the face because we don't want to like incriminate anybody, but let's get these actual dick pics to be part of it. Well, my friend that was part of the sketch, his printer broke that day. Oh, shit. And we didn't have enough time, so we're like, okay, we need a wealth of dick pics quickly. So
hello, Ginkgos.
We go to the porn shop,
oh,
and me and one of the other guys in the sketch were just flipping through magazines, and they're like, yeah, that's a really veiny one. That's going to be great. And
that one curves a little.
Yeah.
Bam.
I'm sure we look like the most unconventional gay couple trying to like do this. And then it's him and I eating garlic knots in the car, cutting out dicks so we can include in the sketch. And I'm like, yeah, comedy is an art form.
And sometimes a craft project as well.
Yeah.
I fucking love that. All right, so I'm going to do a few questions with you.
Sure.
They're always unconventional as well. They're not going to be dick pic questions. We've already covered that subject. But, no, that's sticker. That's sticker.
Awesome.
All right. So I do love my questions. All right, ready? What is your worst rejection, personal and professional?
Ooh, that is tough. Worst rejection. It's funny because we're married now, but like I definitely let my wife know I was interested in her. well before we actually started dating. And I've even joked with her, you know, there's a lot of guys that are really into a girl that are kind of weird about it. And I wasn't, but you give all of the wrong guys false hope. Because I was just talking to you for 4 years, and then we eventually started dating. So now they're all going to think they have a shot, and the situation's not the same. So there were certainly times of that, because I really felt I found somebody that I connected with, and ultimately I was correct. But getting to that journey, that can be tough. And then like professional, like in terms of comedy.
Outside of comedy.
Outside of comedy. Oh, outside of comedy. There were maybe a handful of jobs that I really wanted, you know, that I thought I had a good shot at, and I was probably close. When I first moved to New York, remember when Tom Cruise did The Mummy?
Yeah, we all remember.
So
we were all trying to forget, sorry.
Terrible movie, but they had started doing some pickup shots for Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with Russell Crowe playing Dr. Jekyll. Because they were going to do like an entire like Avengers universe of all these things. Oh, man. They never released the movie because the Tom Cruise movie bombed so hard they scrapped the production. But
I'm okay with that, honestly.
Yeah,
I'm okay.
But I remember when I had been in New York for about a year, and I decided just on a lark go to an an audition, and I ended up getting a call back.
Oh wow!
And so I ended up being able to go on the set. And then it was funny because they had started doing some pickup shots with Russell Crowe because he was also doing some shots for The Mummy because his character showed up in that. But he had a trailer there. They opened the door and there was so much pot smoke that came out. It looked like they were christening a new pope. Like Russell Crowe is a huge pothead. But he was on set and I got to have that callback interview. I got to run the line. It was like a hotel clerk or something like that. And I didn't get the callback, and the two other people that were also there had like legit credits, and I didn't. So I didn't have any pie in the sky that I was going to get that.
Yeah.
But there was that what if. But I remember when I found out that not only was I not getting the role, but nobody was, because there was like a
fuck project.
But I got over that pretty quickly because I was like, well, I don't think I was the guy that was in the running anyway. I just got a second callback. Like it would have been great, but I don't think the odds were with me on that.
I mean, I can see why they cast Russell Crowe to do that movie, but that's pretty much just like casting Anthony Bourdain as a chef. That guy is pretty much Jekyll and Hyde.
So there was that, and then like in the comedy world, I got to perform on shows with a lot of comics that were either huge then, huge now, or both. And there were some that I had a great set, and you feel good about that. And then there were some where it's like, oh, I was on a show with Mark Norman, and I ate dick on the show. So, like, you know, those were definitely, like, kind of, you know, very, very humbling.
Yeah.
But then you also had shows where you're like, man, I had a great show, and, you know, Jim Gaffigan's on the lineup.
Oh,
like,
that's awesome.
You know, and then he said, like, man, that was great stuff. And, like, that feels amazing. And that, like, kind of really energizes you.
Oh, I love that. Jim Gaffigan's awesome, too. All right, here we go. Comedy movie you would take with you to a desert island. One.
So, I think the best comedy movie ever made, not the one that I laughed hardest at, but the best one is Dr. Strangelove.
Oh, that is good.
I think it's just an incredible movie. If I was going to take a movie purely for comedic quality, as a film nerd, it's not like the highest art. The Jackass movies make me cry laughing every single time.
We watch them.
Like, and it's so funny because I have a reputation for being like a film nerd, but not everything I like is like Criterion Collection. No. Like, I can enjoy a Fast and the Furious movie.
I mean, we can be nerdy, but we're not like cinephile. I had somebody challenge me like, oh, you do movie trivia. Well, have you seen this, and this? I'm like, no, I have a fucking life.
Yeah.
Go away.
My best friend Wayne had the best quote for that. He's like, anytime somebody goes, have you seen this? He said, the first thing you should ask them if they're being a real film snob is ask them if they've seen Citizen Kane.
Yep.
And it's like, so wait, you haven't seen, you call yourself a film nerd and you haven't seen the movie that like everybody says is like the most important movie ever made? And I don't care if they haven't seen it. I'm excited if somebody hasn't seen it because they get something new to see. But if you're going to be arrogant about it and you didn't at least start with like the bedrock of film.
And the arrogance is what kills you. It's like, dude, I just enjoy film. And that's what I think I told him. I was like, I just enjoy movies. I'll see what I see. I see what I don't. Like, I'm still pissed my parents sat me down and made me watch, I'm going to get hate on this, Avatar.
Oh, which one? The
first one. I didn't want to watch it. If I don't want to watch it, it's not my, I just didn't want to watch it. There's nothing against it. Love me some James Cameron, but I just didn't want to watch it, and I still hate it to this day because I was forced to watch it. I'm like, no.
I think Avatar is the end battle sequence is pretty breathtaking on screen, and the story to get there is the most basic, watered down. I'm shocked that they've made 2 more, which, I mean, it's not shocking they made.
Has the other one come out yet?
The third one has come out, and I still haven't even seen the third one, which is funny because
I haven't seen the second one.
The first one was like the biggest movie in the world for a while until, like, I think Endgame beat it. But yeah, I remember seeing Avatar, and there was stuff I liked, but I didn't walk away going like, man, this is going to change cinema. I'm like, yeah, it was fine as a popcorn movie.
Whether if you saw it in theater too, that's an experience. I was watching it on, like, regular living room television. I'm like, I already don't want to watch it. The visuals are already fucked up for me. I'm done.
Also, people get different things out of movies.
Yeah.
Like, I could watch the original Dawn of the Dead, and I'll be like, I love that it's in a mall because this is a commentary on, consumerism and all that. But then somebody else can walk and go like, oh, neat, a mall. and there's nothing wrong with that reaction. They're just trying to enjoy a movie, and there's no crime in that. And I think sometimes, like, I think people should more just embrace that people are able to enjoy anything than criticize them for why or what they enjoy.
It's a gatekeeping, I believe, is what the kids say these days, of films and their experiences versus yours. And
yeah, and I always found that, like I'll say this, as a Star Wars fan, seeing some of the gatekeeping in Star Wars kind of broke my heart.
Yeah.
Because it was like, people would be like, oh, you're not a real Star Wars fan. I'm like, this is a cute girl that's into Star Wars. What are you doing? Why don't you, like, message her and go, like, I dig this too? Like, why are you trying to be so exclusive? Like, it baffles me, because anytime I find people like the same stuff I like, I usually view that as a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I would say the Jackass movies, I could put those on anytime.
Oh my God. It's when they have the hand, I think it was like Jackass 2, I believe, where they just kept putting the hand back. They're like, high five. It kills me. Pontius's penis with a mouse thing on it and has a snake bite at it. I'm crying. I'm sorry. It's fucking brilliant.
And there's a weird emotional arc that happened through the movies where you watch the latest movie, which is supposed to be the last one.
Yeah.
You almost get emotional because it has been about this, like, friendship that's kind of bonded these guys together.
And we no longer have Ryan Dunn.
And the friendship still feels very genuine. And the other thing is, for a show that's about, like, pranks and, like, all this stuff, all the mean-spirited stuff is between each other.
Yeah.
Like, any of the other people involved aren't usually victims of their crimes. Like, so it's very different from any other kind of, like, prank show, and that they're all suffering, but that's the humor, is that, like, they've agreed to sign up. We're going to be the biggest asses in all of this. And if there's bystanders there, you're going to be fine. You're going to look great, but we're going to look just completely humiliated. And I thought that kind of commitment to it, and that actually being something that kind of built this 30-year friendship.
Yeah, I think they're one of the most functional families around.
Yeah, they are. Well, it was like when The Simpsons first came out and everybody talked about how controversial it was.
Yeah, I remember that.
And now you look at The Simpsons, they're like one of the healthier family units on television.
Not to mention psychics.
Yeah.
We had that conversation. I was with a friend yesterday, and they were like, how the fuck do they predict so much?
Yeah, first of all, I think when you have very smart writers, which Simpsons has always had, like Dana Gould, one of my favorite comics, wrote for them for a long time. I think very, very brilliant people sometimes are a little ahead of the curve in what they see coming more than your average person.
Yeah.
And I think if you have enough of those people writing on the same show, that show is going to feel very prophetic at a certain point.
It's just, I'm a Family Guy person too. Right?
Yeah, Family Guy's fun.
Love me some Family Guy. All right, here we go. What era would you have liked to have lived in?
70s.
Why?
Love the film, love the comedy. Love the music.
Era, yeah.
I like the early days of like punk, heavy metal, that kind of thing. The classic rock from the 70s is great. And then film, like you have the early days of like Scorsese, De Palma, the early Spielberg stuff.
Kubrick.
And they're all great now. Yeah, Kubrick. But to be able to watch it like, and this also bleeds, the late 60s would bleed into that a little bit too.
Yeah.
It's one thing to like listen to Jimi Hendrix and go like, that's cool. But to listen to Jimi Hendrix when everybody was playing folk and then this guy shows up as a gypsy and people just are almost frightened because they don't know what to think of it. That's a fascinating time to be in, where this guy was just so different and so original, it kind of blew their minds. And to be able to kind of, I've talked with family and stuff that have talked about when they first saw it. I mean, when people saw Star Wars for the first time, like, they were like, oh, movies can do that? This is, it was just, there was a sense of wonder with a lot of that. But it was also blended with the 70s is where people started to have a little bit more of a stroke of realism in their music and in their movies and that kind of thing. So I think that authenticity mixed with people just trying really new things, I think was an exciting time.
No, I really do love those 70s movies too. I would love those 60s, but I love the hippies.
Yeah, 60s is great too.
All right, this is a good one. Wait. Are you fascinated by any cults?
All of them? Now, let's make a distinction. Fascinated does not mean...
Just like curious, not to join, but just like, what the fuck?
Fascinating does not mean a desire for membership.
No. I'm going to preface that as well. I am fascinated with Scientology. Don't fucking reach out to me. You guys are a bunch of...
I'm fascinated with Scientology. I've read a wealth on Jonestown.
Yeah.
One of the things I said before is I'm always fascinated with extremes in people. Like, for example, Mr. Rogers, I think, was a good man from everything we've heard. Yeah. Like, he was a very good man. So that's on one end, and then like Jim Jones would be on the other. Just the idea that somebody could really strive for try to go purely in one direction or purely in the other, I think that's just interesting.
We went to the Grave Face Museum in Savannah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Oh, please go when you go back to Savannah. But they had, it wasn't Kool-Aid, it was Flavor Aid.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I didn't know that.
He was too cheap.
Yes.
He was too cheap to get.
And they had the packets. I'm going, whoa. And they had so many other things. They had the original Spawn Ranch sign.
Yeah.
They had roof tiles from Sharon Tate's house. Eileen Warnos' underwear.
Yeah.
It's a plethora of crazy, but I fucking love that place.
There's a Museum of Death in New Orleans and LA also. And I've
heard of that.
They have a lot of that memorabilia. But like, I also, when I go to a new town, if I go to a big city, I want to go to locations where I recognize films were shot there.
Yes.
But I also want to go to where famous crime scenes were. Like, I went to the house where like Dorothy Stratton was murdered.
Yeah.
I couldn't go in clearly, but I wanted to get an idea of like, this happened in this neighborhood. What did the neighborhood look like? And what's interesting, I talked about this when I took a ride up to the Manson house on Cielo Drive, where Sharon Tate was. When you're driving up there, you hear people playing outside, you hear kids on bike. As soon as you get there, the sound drops. Like, it just gets really quiet. And like, I'm not somebody who believes in like supernatural things really.
Yeah.
But
there's energy there.
There's like this energy, like when you go to the neighborhood, they leveled it, but where the OJ house was, same thing. Like, it just gets very quiet around there. It's almost like the atmosphere just wants you to go, hey, you need to be aware something really effed up happened here.
It's just not good.
So I find that interesting. And I think cults are interesting because the idea that any one individual can have that kind of impact on somebody in such a negative way, it's horrifying. And I wish a lot of people that are victims of cults could be less susceptible to that. But it's also interesting how they all kind of have the same MO.
Yeah, it's the psychology behind it also. What brings you to that point to join this? And then what makes this person magnanimous enough to bring in so many people? That fascinates me.
Well, and there's also weird moments, because the other thing is too, we often view serial killers or we view cult leaders as these very larger than life, like mythical presences. But if you read their life stories, they were all they were losers.
Yeah.
They were all. And like, sometimes some of the funniest details can come out. Like Jonestown, what happened is one of the worst, events in American history. I mean, 900 people died. They were very impoverished. It's heartbreaking. But one of the funniest moments when you watch the documentaries is they interview two people that survived and ran in the woods. And they're like, how did you survive? And they're like, well, they gave us this cup of Flavor Aid, and when they weren't looking, we just kind of threw it in a bush and walked away. It could be that simple.
You got nothing else? Oh, well, all right. I might edit in something later.
But yeah, like, I think cult mentality is so fascinating because I've said this about comedy. Mm-hmm. Confidence is a shiny set of keys you can wave in front of a lot of people, and people are mystified by it because most of us don't feel confident in, our everyday life. So when somebody seems to have a hold on confidence, that can be very alluring.
Yeah.
And of course, cult leaders project this confidence. I think it's insecurity that's making them do it, but it appears to be confidence. And I think there's a lot of people susceptible to that. I think it happens in comedy where, like, there will be a comic who's not a very great person sometimes.
Yeah.
But because they seem so confident, even if their material shouldn't warrant that, people will be kind of drawn to them. And I think, cult mentality, it's very similar. Confidence opens so many doors, and it's kind of a parlor trick at the end of the day.
That was loud, sorry. Michael Rosenbaum does this
Inside of You. And he did the Allison Mack one.
And the Allison Mack. Did you watch Smallville?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was very fascinated by that.
Unfortunately, we named our child Chloe after the character, not the actress.
I had a comic friend that named his cat Louis C. Cat. And
I like that.
That became a problematic name a couple of years after.
A few years, it's like... we're just going to shorten that to Lou.
Yeah, to Louie. Or Lou. I thought Smallville was a great show, and I'm not a Superman fan. But I thought that was probably one of the better versions of Superman.
Yeah. And I love Michael Rosenbaum, and I think his podcast is absolutely outstanding too. And what he did with her as well was amazing. He just let her kind of go, talk to her a little, but there was no judgment. It was just, how the hell did this happen kind of thing. And it was a heartbreaking thing to hear how she got into that, but it's also, I'm happy to see that she's come out of it and she's recognizing, yes, I did some fucked up shit. Like, branding people, not great.
I was pleased at the fact that I didn't feel she ran from it.
Yeah, I was too.
I think she really owned it. And I don't, listen, I mean, she did several horrible things, but I would be happy to see her have a redemption and be able to help other people avoid that.
Yeah.
Like,
I think she is. I think she is doing stuff with, I think, prisoners. And then wouldn't she discuss, like, she's married to a guy that was a white supremacist?
Yeah, white supremacist.
And then he found out he was Jewish.
And he's not anymore. Yeah. And, I think their story is great. I think there's always going to be a portion of the public that find her to be awful, and I get that. Like,
you totally did some horrible shit, but
I also am like, hey, if your lesson from that can help other people avoid that same situation, I think that's beneficial. And one of the things Rosenbaum does in interviews that I appreciate, I don't think he's judgmental to his guest. He's kind of like, the onus is on you on how you feel about this guest. And my favorite filmmakers do that. Like, if you see a Coen Brothers movie, they're not telling you what to think. Mm-hmm. They're just showing you this world. And it's kind of up to you to decide how you feel about, Javier Bardem in No Country, or how you feel about, The Dude or anything like that. Like, he doesn't go like, they don't go like, you need to think this about this character.
Yeah.
And I think that's better for the audience.
I was the Dude for Halloween one year. That was my favorite costume ever. No one recognized me.
Is it?
And he saw the Dude here, actually.
Is there something emancipating about going out in the costume where the whole gimmick is the guy supposed to kind of be baked and drunk the entire time?
I had the sunglasses. I had a wig. I had a beard. I had a carton of milk. I had the robe. I had the shirt. I had the shorts. I had the slides. And a friend of mine, I was on the steps of the Ice House in Somerville, and I'm just sitting there, sitting like a guy, and she goes, well, where's Cassie? And my friend was like, oh, I don't know. Like, she knew I was standing right there. I was sitting right there, and I'm just sitting there going, I didn't move, I didn't speak, and she just kind of looked at me, she's like, hey, I was like,
yeah, that anonymity had to be fun.
It was my favorite part of Halloween. I had so much fucking fun with that. But that's what I'm a big Halloween person too.
Same.
All right, last question. What superpower would you want the most?
Ooh. You know, I've always said, like, if I was going to go utilitarian, Mr. Fantastic, his powers, like to be able to stretch all your limbs, that kind of thing. I mean, yeah, you could go like the sexual route with that, but to me, it just seems like
that's the boys' area. We don't do that here.
But that's not the first thing I go to. The first thing I go to is like I'm in the bedroom and I want to get like a drink out of the fridge and I can just like just snake my arm around it. Like that always seemed like it would be the most like utilitarian power to have. Also, if you're able to stretch your body into any form, if you have any kind of body image issues, I think that's probably a pretty easy fix.
That is actually. See, mine's kind of along the same way as telekinesis. So like, Joe, just like put your hand out and like it comes right to you. So I don't have to stretch. I can just reach my hand out and grab the drink.
I like that you said telekinesis over like telepathy, because a lot of
people, I'm good. I don't need to know everybody's brains.
A lot of people are like, seriously, I'd love to be telepathy. I'm like,
no, thank you.
I don't think that's as good of a power as it sounds.
You don't want to know what that guy is thinking when he buys the book at Books A Million that is wrapped due to fisting.
Well, and I've talked about this with like social media, which I don't think social media, I think social media is kind of like the internet. There's a lot of benefits from it, and then there's a lot of, you know, horrible things too. And I don't think it's a vehicle. I think it's how people utilize it. But I've said, one of the things that I think is hardest about social media is I think as a society, we were never supposed to know this much about each other, and we're scrambling to learn how to adapt to it in real time. And there's a lot of mistakes being made. Like
a lot.
Because anytime a new technology comes along that's changing, it's happening with AI now, where the problem isn't that everything about AI is awful. It's that it's developing so quickly, and because we don't have any kind of restraints on it, we have no way of knowing where it's going to take us.
Yeah.
And some of those can be good, and some of those could be really bad. And I think like anytime you have that much kind of information, it's freeing. But there's also the adaptation period is probably going to be very rocky.
Well, it's been about 26 years-ish, give or probably take more than that, you know, with the creation of MySpace and all.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's too much too soon, though? I mean, that is still about 20 years, but with the over-inundation of information.
I think... I mean, the funny thing is, I always like when people go like, oh, I think the world would be better if we didn't have social media. I'm like, probably true. That's not going to happen.
No.
So you kind of have to learn
how to learn how to adapt.
You have to learn how to coexist to it. Like, in much the same way, if you want to go online and you want to look at like choke porn for 200 hours, you can. You might want to like learn some discipline on what you're looking at, and you can look at choke porn still sometimes, but maybe like look up a Wikipedia page now and then too. Like, I think there has to be
get some Chaucer in the middle of it or something.
I hope when parents are like bringing up kids now, they're saying, listen, it's fine if you do social media, just try to kind of go take this approach to it.
Yeah.
Because it can be really good, but it can also ruin your life, like, or other people's lives. Because I don't want to like censor it either. I'm not a big censorship guy.
I mean, you're putting it out there, you know, own it, my guy.
Yeah. And pretty much any social media I've done, and I've said things that, you know, you could argue were good online, and I've said things that you could argue were not good online. I think we all have. The number one thing that I always do if I post something, if I saw this person in real life, could I say it to their face?
Not a keyboard warrior.
And if the answer is no, then I probably shouldn't say it. But if the answer is, yeah, I would say this to them if they were directly in front of me too, then I feel a little bit more comfortable about it.
Well, I love it. I loved this interview too.
Thank you so much. Did you have fun? I had a blast. I love that you're doing this, and I hope it keeps going for a long while.
I hope so too. More shares. Please like us on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Comedians and Bars Getting Sloppy. Thank you so much to the Recovery Room. If you saw him glistening a little bit, is because it is 100 degrees in Charleston, South Carolina right now. It is Satan's asphalt. Thank you to Boston. Thank you to everybody at the Recovery Room. We've had a blast. This place is amazing. If you are out in Charleston, please come here and support this local bar. It is outstanding. Michael, thank you so much. We're going to plug all your stuff as well. And you are fucking awesome.
This was so much fun. And I think you guys create like a really good environment for just a great talk. So please keep it going.
It's been fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Have a great one. See you guys next time.